a real honour to be able to respond, and I feel really humbled. And I'm kind of prefacing it by saying these are my lay ponderings, because I have just recently, just in the last winter gone, participated in the Community Economies winter school. So it's only just recently that I've gone, oh, actually I think the work that I do is around this. So I didn't realise that until just a couple of months ago. So since then it's kind of been a flurry of thinking and aligning and realising where the resonance in my work are in relation to the beautiful work that you all do in this space too, and considering it from my particular lens, my particular flavour as a Māori woman who looks at Māori stuff and thinks kids are way better than adults. So that's what I look at. Yeah, as mentioned, I am at Te Manawa Haukura Research Centre. I love it. I've got a full-time permanent research position, which any of us who are in social sciences knows that's like, honestly, it's amazing. So I'm just like, still every day I'm like, oh, this is the best ever, to be able to do this, just think, read and write all day about things that matter. I have a background in teaching though. I was a teacher for 11 years in mainstream and kura kaupapa Māori immersion schooling, and that's and children have always been what matters to me most. That's what's always called me to look at and think about and theorise about and write about. So just to start off with, if any of us were teenagers in the 90s, like me, will know, you know, Massive Attack, you know, we're all a bit alternative. And love is a verb, love is a doing word. You know, we know that, I don't know. It's also the House, like, song, if you like the show House. But there's something in that that really resonates when thinking about the idea of aroha. When I read about care is one of those little parts of the idea of aroha, and in my particular way, thinking of it as a radical act. You know, simply existing as Māori is radical. And so I've got a couple of poems. I'll start with a poem called Rewilding Aroha, a radical ceremony to return to aroha. I've been told more than once that Māori didn't know what love was until the missionaries arrived. But tell me this, why do we have the word then? Why does it stretch like a waka across the Pacific? Aloha, ofa, alofa, sailing through languages older than colonisation. Our love wasn't a gift from the settlers. Our love was colonised. The way we cherished our children, the way we loved each other, men, women, all genders, with reverence, balance and belonging. The way aroha means service, means commitment, means a sacred duty to uplift, protect and honour. You may have tried to reframe our love into obedience, tried to silence its rhythms with shame, convince us that we would still be savages, albeit noble, if you hadn't interrupted our savagery. But let me be clear. I will pry your melaninless, knobbly fingers from my love. Melaninless is a paradigm, not an actual skin colour, FYI. Thus, I present the ceremony of return to aroha, untangle how we've been told to love, 1. 2, reworld our aroha, and 3, repeat. So that's kind of coming to terms with what it means to re-own our ways that we love. And that's the whole project of care and imagining it and thinking about it and what matters to us through our Indigenous lens, thinking about what love is, what is the very basis of that. And so through that, that kind of idea of radical self-love, you know, as a way of thinking about, you know, we've got like the self-care and we send like the magazines, this is how you look after yourself. You know, there's kind of this like toxic positivity that is embedded in that, that's deeply represented in a capitalist agenda. Whereas this radical self-love is challenging the substructures that tells me that my skin colour is wrong, that the way that I am beautiful is not a beautiful that is sold, you know, that the way that we are, the way that our children are, that the language that comes from my that comes out of the mouths of my children is not an acceptable language. So all of these are radically loving ourselves in ways that society tells us not to. So there's a reclamation and a dismantling there. And so the idea of a grandchild ethic really resonates with me, Mokopuna, as a way to counter that and to centre on a concept that is encompassing. Because yes, a child is a grandchild, but we are all grandchildren. We're grandchildren of our environment. And so when we have this special texture to our emotions when we think about children and grandchildren, so if we apply that to everything that we do, if we think about ourselves as grandchildren with a responsibility to everything around us, then we can start changing. How much time have I got? I've got a minute and a half probably at this point. So I'll quickly move through. So like Bell Hooks is my homegirl. Like I love what she has to say about love. So what she had to say, sorry, she's passed away now. But I've been thinking more and more about that idea of more than human and how it didn't quite feel good for me in some ways. And like thinking, and I'm starting to kind of ponder about the idea of land, water, sky, kin and kinship and us within that frame so that it's not human-centred and it kind of takes away from our like wanting to just centre ourselves in all of the things. And even though the idea of more than humans feels like it's moving away, we've still got the word human in there. So how we move into that, and I wonder about the implications for that and care and how we think about it. And at the moment I'm writing a chapter on Mokopuna rewilding. And I kind of like the term rewilding compared to decolonisation, because the word decolonisation for me, it feels heavy. As someone who's just laboured to decolonise my tongue, reclaim my language, to decolonise teaching, it's tiring. There's a weight in it, and so that idea of rewilding feels hopeful and it feels loving and it feels a fresh way to think about it. So I've made this sweet little ceremony and started to kind of like explore what that could look like in terms of imagining and remembering a world that we want to be and want to recreate every day. The idea of time is really, really important, and I love that Joan had that in there. I was like, oh, she talked about time, I can talk about time too, because I'm all about rewilding time. So I've got one more wee poem to share with us about time, because the way that the Gregorian clock and time structures have been applied to the Southern Hemisphere and to superimpose my ancestral ways of knowing time have been really detrimental, perhaps one of the most detrimental in colonising things, and so invisible, and people don't even see them. So that's been really important. So I finish up my tiny bit of ponderings with a poem to finish up, and it's a poem called A Stitch in Time, Unsettling Settlerisms. Time, down here, should be tethered to the seasons, tethered to migratory patterns, tethered to moon cycles, not a big gaudy clock in the lint-filled belly button of London. What does the Northern Hemisphere know about when the kina are fat, when the piharo run, when the korimako sing a certain way just before the rains? Yet time radiates out from the epicentre of the British Empire. Its radiation settles into our collective bones, making us like puppets, moving micro-capitalisms, serving micro-capitalisms that gnaw at the roots of our relational worlds. So we forget. We forget our community economies, stitched with aroha, service, joy, collective benefit, wealth. But we're remembering, turning back the tides to our signs or tohu, to pūrākau, or storytelling as timekeeping, to the sacred slow. Little plug for my tiny little research lab.